Prologue. In the beginning, there were only two things: the Aether and its inhabitants, the Keepers. Among the Keepers were two characters crucial to the entire story, these being Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man. These two were very good friends, tight as fuck, but some friendships never last. After eons of chilling in the Aether, one of the Elder Keepers formed a device that could manipulate reality itself. He then uses it to build the ultimate paradise for the boys, Aether. Eventually, more dimensions and universes would develop throughout space and time, which the Keepers learned to travel to using the summoning key. While most Keepers were out exploring new dimensions, the Shadow Man, along with a few other Keepers, discovered a mirrored realm to the Aether, referred to as the Dark Aether. This realm was straight up bad juju, and it harnessed dark energy that could corrupt anything it touches. With this information obtained, Shadow Man thought to himself, this is the perfect sesh spot, and started messing with that bad juju alongside his boys. But by experimenting with the Dark Aether, the Shadow Man and his Keeper bros had their souls corrupted, and a new counterpart of the Keepers were born, the Apothicans. The Apothicans, being corrupted and evil and all that, wanted their own device of great power, and they formed one of great destruction, the Aether Pyramid. Once the other Keepers found out about their pyramid, they were understandably not pleased and wanted it gone. The Apothicans said, nah, we good, and then bang, War of Aether commences and hands start flying. The two factions clashed it out, but ultimately, the Keepers triumphed over the Apothicans and banished them to the Dark Aether for all of eternity. Just before banishment, the Apothicans hid the pyramid away on a moon within a newly formed dimension. With the greatest threat of all of existence skadooshed, the Keepers became the guardians of the Aether in all dimensions, taking the role of watching over and protecting humanity from any primordial threat. Shout out to the Keepers, man. They look freaky as hell, but really, they're chill guys. For the Apothicans though, times would be tough, as over the course of millennia, their physical and psychological forms would be further corrupted by the Dark Aether, and they would eventually no longer resemble their Keeper form. The Shadow Man began plotting his revenge arc on Dr. Monty and the Keepers. Their longing to one day return to Aether kept them pushing forward. September 3rd, 5 AD. After quite some time of agonizing torment in the Dark Aether, the Shadow Man and the Apothicans learned a few tricks within their imprisoned realm, being able to view other dimensions but not being able to manifest themselves within it. The Apothicans knew that Earth held a passage through to Aether, hence why they stored the pyramid on the neighbouring moon. They began flicking big rocks of a dark ether substance known as Element 115 through rifts in space and time to other dimensions. They hoped that one day, humanity will wage war on each other, using those big rocks, which would break the barrier between the Dark Aether and reality, allowing the Apothicans to return once more. The Great War Era. January 15th, 1292. The Apothicans make their first breach from the Dark Aether into reality, and the Great War begins across numerous dimensions. A prominent figure in this war is an Austrian leader known as the Wolf King, who does fairly well to hold their own against the dark forces, but is not able to keep the defense up forever. April 23rd, 1294. With humanity under the threat of the Apothicans, the Keepers intervene to fight alongside humanity and propel the enemy. During battle, Sir Pablo Marinus, a subordinate of the Wolf King, is cornered by a great Apothicon beast known as the Magua. Just before succumbing to his fate, he is saved by 4 staff-wielding heroes humanity would refer to as Primus. These heroes would continue to fight alongside the Keepers and humanity for 5 long years. December 1st, 1299. Primus, the Keepers, and humanity triumph over the Shadow Man and the Apothicans, putting an end to the Great War. The Apothicans are once again banished to the Dark Aether. Primus uses their staffs of power to extinguish the sickness of the world as far as the eye could see. The Apothicans, in their defeat, continued to plot their return once more. January 1st, 1300. With humanity returning to normal life, Primus daps up the Wolf King and instructs him to build a fortress within the Austrian Alps. The Primus gang would then mysteriously vanish from all of history. September 19th, 1318. With the completion of the castle's construction, the Wolf King lied on his deathbed. And in his last hours, he makes a final request to his faithful servant, Arthur, to scatter his bones and the bones of his beloved wolves among the castle grounds. Obviously to hook us up with the wolf bow. Hell yeah, brother. Shout out my boy Wolf King. September 20th, 1318. As Arthur laid down the last bone, a temporal rift emerges and consumes him, taking him to an old western mining town, buried beneath Angola in the year 2025. Arthur was trapped underground, and with no one to be seen within the whole town, he sat in confusion and dread. But little did Arthur know, eyes were watching from afar. Purgatory Point Era. 1855 to 1885. Jebediah Brown moves with his mother to an old western mining town named Purgatory Point. Jebediah would become known as the town's blacksmith, as he masters his craft throughout the years. Early 1885. Massive deposits of an unknown element are discovered within the mines. Miners were stated to have contracted a sickness after returning from the mines, having their physical and mental well-being greatly affected. April 14th, 1885. One of the miners succumbs to their illness, but awakes minutes later in an animalistic state and attacks Jebediah's mother. Jeb's mother is not able to recover from the wounds and passes away not long after the attack. This leaves Jebediah in despair and in search of answers. April 15th, 1885. Jebediah enters the mines looking for answers after burying his mother. He returns from the mines, thinking he was only down there for a few hours at most, not realizing that several days had actually passed. April 18th, 1885. Jebediah is visited by two angels in his dreams. They ask him to create a device that we would know later as the Pack-a-Punch machine. Jeb wakes up and gets right to work. This creation becomes a success in the town, improving anything put inside it. June 30th, 1885. In his dreams, Jebby is once again visited by the angels, this time to craft what they call the Aether device. They tell Jebediah he needs 3 components necessary to craft it: the blood of an elder god, an elemental shard, which can be only forged by fusing 4 souls to one of the ores from the mine, and the metallic casing they refer to as the vril vessel. Once again, Jebediah awakens and gets straight to work. July 3rd, 1885. Jebediah gives up on the Aether device, as he is only able to craft the vril vessel and the vril device with his blacksmithing skills. Which I don't really blame him for not being able to finish the device. Like, bro is a late 19th century common folk. How do those angels expect him to casually grab the blood from some ancient god? Stupid. July 15th, 1885. With the exposure of Element 115 to the town of Purgatory Point, the residents begin to fall ill, turning them into walking corpses, just like the miner. July 20th, 1885. Jebediah goes a little bit cray-cray, digs up his mother's corpse, and chucks her inside the Pack-a-Punch. He hopes by doing so, it'll bring her back to life, which I can kinda respect. That's his mama main. Still crazy though. Surprisingly, it kinda works. Kinda. Huh? She returns only as a ghost in the form of her younger self. She remained in Jebediah's home, never leaving the property, only staring through the windows with tears rolling down her face. Very sad. July 22nd, 1885. Jebediah uses the Pack-a-Punch to upgrade the vril vessel, but this would be his greatest mistake. The Pack-a-Punch overloads and transports the entire town of Purgatory Point through a rift to a chasm beneath a mining facility in Angola. Anybody else get that deja vu? No? By then, the undead had completely overrun the town, killing everyone, including Jeremiah. The ghost of Jeremiah's mother still remains. Pre-World War II era. June 30th, 1908. A meteor containing that juicy 115 crashes near the Tunguska River in Siberia. August 30th, 1925. German scientist Dr. Edward Richtofen joins the Illuminati. February 4th, 1931. A huge load of element 115 is discovered in Breslau, Germany. German scientist Dr. Ludwig Maxis is sent to investigate. May 10th, 1931. Dr. Maxis forms Group 935, an international scientific research organization, specifically for element 115 studies. With the birth of Group 935, a facility is established in Breslau to conduct experiments with element 115. This facility would be known as the Doris facility. Maxis saw great potential in the element and sought to improve the human condition through the development of advanced technology. November 5th, 1934. Maxis's daughter, Samantha, is born with the mother passing away during childbirth. This deeply affects Maxis, making sure to keep his daughter close to him at all times. August 11th, 1936. Maxis invites Dr. Richtofen aboard Group 935. Richtofen accepts, but has his own intentions with the experiments, acting on behalf of the Illuminati's interest in secrecy. April 10th, 1937. 115 meteorite fragments are found within the swamplands of Okinawa by Imperial Japan. They formed their own research facility, dubbed the Rising Sun Facility, at the crash site to conduct research. Japan's own research group, Division 9, is established to oversee the operation. June 14th, 1937. The United States government discovered their own supply of 115 at Groom Lake, Nevada. July 2nd, 1939. At the Doris facility, Maxis and Richtofen begin work on the first teleportation experiments, using the 115-powered matter transference prototype. They start by teleporting subjects from one MTP to another one within the facility. Unfortunately, these tests kind of failed. Although there is success with teleporting the subjects, the process alters their chemical composition, leaving them in a catatonic state. The subjects only manage to live for a few days before succumbing to illnesses. August 5th, 1939. Maxis and Richtofen managed to resurrect one of the teleported subjects using element 115. The subject seems to understand and obey orders at first, but quickly becomes aggressive and lunges towards them. Maxis is forced to put down the subject. World War II era. September 1st, 1939. World War II commences with the invasion of Poland by Nazi Germany. September 3rd, 1939. As a cheeky little side project, Richtofen works on developing a weapon that harnessed the power of 115, which would become known as the Wunderwaffe DG2. November 23rd, 1939. Maxis hits up Nazi Germany to hook Group 935 up with some cash money to continue with experiments. They agree to fund the cause, with particular interest in the reanimated test subjects. December 4th, 1939. Richtofen, along with another Group 935 member, Dr. Schuster, continued their studies on teleportation while Maxis negotiates with Nazi Germany. Their studies show small breakthroughs, and during the 151st test trial, they successfully teleport a walnut through the MTP with no altercations. December 5th, 1939. Although Richtofen and Schuster are quite proud of the progress they made, Maxis is not impressed. He informs Richtofen that Group 935 will soon be funded by Nazi Germany. Richtofen is not feeling Maxis' decision, as he believes it will lead to massive defections. He continues to conduct the experiments with Schuster behind Maxis' back. January 4th, 1940. Richtofen and Schuster attempt the first teleportation test to include a human subject since the last catatonic subjects. Richtofen is so confident with his walnuts that he volunteers himself to be the test subject. And I guess you gotta give him his flowers. Or his walnuts, I don't know. Because it did work. Well, somewhat worked. Richtofen teleports with his chemical composition intact. But instead of emerging from one of the other MTPs, Richtofen is just casually teleported to the moon. Yeah, slight miscalculation. Wait, does that mean Richtofen is canonically the first man on the moon in the Zombies universe? Richtofen proceeds to wander for a little bit until he stumbles upon the Aether pyramid, which zaps him upon touching it. Richtofen starts to hear dark voices, which included the Shadow Man's, which makes me think that it was actually the Shadow Man pulling some strings and bringing Richtofen to the moon. After interacting with the pyramid, Richtofen is teleported back to Earth, but to Shangri-La, an exotic shrine hidden from humanity deep within the jungles of the Himalayas.
Why do they love you so much, monkey?
January 5th, 1940. Richtofen is claimed to be a deity by the natives of Shangri-La, and they build him an altar in his name. They place a familiar-looking stone atop of this altar. This would be the first encounter of the focusing stone, very important for later. By this time, Richtofen had become corrupted by the Dark Aether from his interaction with the Aether Pyramid. He now has only one thing in mind, to find a gateway to Agartha. Smart boy play from the Shadow Man. January 23rd, 1940. After kicking back with the Shang homies, Richtofen returns to Dr. Schuster at the Doris facility. He informs him of his plans to build a research station on the moon he would call Griffin Station. January 24th, 1940. With his new obsession of reaching Agartha, Richtofen abandons his role with the Illuminati. March 13th, 1940. Several members of Group 935 are not happy-chappy with Maxis' alignment with Yahtzee Germany, and they side with Richtofen's plan. The construction of Griffin Station begins. July 13th, 1940. Maxis orders his assistant, Sophia, to contact Yahtzee Germany for even more money. Max is starting to look a lot like Dutch right now, I'm not gonna lie.
We still need money.
Maxis claims that Doris is running low on 115 material, and will need a lot more to meet the demands. August 1st, 1940. Yahtzee Germany isn't going to let an infinite supply of soldiers slip away. They pay Moneyman Maxis in full, and it doesn't stop there. 2 new facilities are constructed in Berlin to help speed up the research progress. One within a repurposed theatre referred to as the Kino facility, and one occupying an insane asylum referred to as the Asylum facility. August 18th, 1940. With the soon-to-be alignment of Yahtzee Germany and Imperial Japan, the Imperial Japanese Army hands over the Rising Sun facility to Group 935 to take charge of the experiments. Division 9 remains to assist with further research.
Nice.
October 3rd, 1940. Another facility for Group 935 is established along the Tunguska River in Siberia, referred to as the Siberian Facility.
Real creepy stuff.
November 6th, 1940. I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but you guessed it, more facility. This one being high among the Austrian Alps, occupying a familiar castle known as Der Eisendrache. They referred it as Eagle's Nest. June 24th, 1941. Red Army Sergeant Nikolai Bolensky loses his wife during a German bombing raid. He turns to vodka to mask the pain and cope with the loss. January 11th, 1942. Maxis remembers he's a father and surprises Samantha with a dog to keep her company at the Doris facility. Samantha names her Fluffy. January 30th, 1942. Richtofen finalizes the prototype for the Wonderwolf DG2. February 1st, 1942. The moon facility, Griffin Station, comes to completion. Richtofen appoints Dr. Groff, a member of Group 935 loyal to Richtofen's cause, as lead scientist, and tasks him, along with Schuster, to find a way to power the MPD. Richtofen returns to Earth to keep the charade with Maxis going. April 17th, 1942. At the Rising Sun facility, Maxis, alongside a Group 935 member named H. Porter, developed the first prototype for what they would call the ray gun. Very sophisticated name for real. H. Porter continues to work solo on a second generation model. May 15th, 1942. A 935 expedition team returns from Southeast Africa with a number of artifacts found from an 1800s American mining town. These included documents, schematics, and pieces of the original Pack-a-Punch machine created by your boy, Jebediah Brown. Richtofen keeps the documents for himself, but gives the rest of the artifacts to H. Porter, instructing him to replicate Jebediah's work. Within the documents, Richtofen discovers the plans for the Agarthan device, Vril vessel, and the Vril device. With this new information, he seeks out to construct them. June 13th, 1942. Aight, this part a little freaky, so bear with me.
You can call me Love.
Due to future events that will be explained later to not confuse anything,
You suck.
Dr. Monty uses those primordial powers he got in his back pocket to reach through space and time to point some things in the right direction. The main nudge being him assisting Group 935 in developing Element 115 infused elixirs that, once consumed, would enhance one's condition and capabilities. You'd think maybe he'd do something big like stop the world from warring, but nah, let's make some bevies for the boys. These elixirs would become known as Quick Revive, Speed Collar, Double Tap, and Juggernaut. Man, I can't lie. Give me some of that Speed Collar, that shit looks delicious. June 18th, 1942. At Griffin Station, Dr. Groff and Schuster struggle big time to power up the MPD. Schuster is fed up and takes his anger out on a rat sitting on the MPD, giving it a left-right goodnight. To their surprise, the rat's death causes the MPD to flicker. Groff and Schuster realize that life essence is the fuel source the MPD requires to be powered. Groff reports his findings to Richtofen. July 20th, 1942. Upon hearing their discovery, Richtofen begins assigning soldiers and scientists to Griffin Station to be sacrificed to the MPD. November 5th, 1942. Imperial Japanese Captain Takia Masaki is sent to the Rising Sun facility by the Emperor to keep tabs on the experiments conducted by Group 935 and Division 9. December 8th, 1942. Richtofen grows a liking to the 115 infused elixirs. He sends them to Griffin Station for Groff and Schuster to enjoy some bevies on the moon. They develop their own variant of the elixir they called Mule Kick. December 9th, 1942. Nikolai loses his brother in the Battle of Stalingrad. Damn, our boy Nikolai going through it. December 14th, 1942. Feeling a spark of either creativity or insanity, maybe both, Richtofen attaches an explosive to one of Samantha's toys. He calls it Monkey Bomb. December 16th, 1942. Maxis catches wind of Richtofen's recent unusual behaviours. He becomes concerned that his unhealthy amount of exposure to 115 was at fault. Maxis starts to lose trust in Richtofen, even considering it was a mistake to bring him aboard Group 935. December 20th, 1942. Even though Bro just said he's losing trust in Richtofen, Maxis leaves his daughter, Samantha, in his care at Derice to continue building that zombie army for Germany at the Kino facility. What happened to keeping her close at all times, man? Don't leave her with the crazy monkey bomb man, dog.
Don't be afraid of death. Be afraid of the doctor.
January 8th, 1943. In a personal log, Maxis worries he and his assistant Sophia have grown too close, and he contemplates sending her away. January 16th, 1943. Nikolai is seized by German forces during the Battle of Stalingrad. He is handed over to Group 935 as test subjects for experiments. Man, give my boy Nikolai a break for real. January 27th, 1943. Maxis funds progress with reanimating the dead through Subject 2-6, managing to minimize its aggressive outbursts. February 10th, 1943. Maxis is cooking right now. He perfects the treatment to have full control over 2-6. Maxis believes that if he can retain impressions for more than 26 hours, then the delivery of Germany's zombie army would be greatly accelerated. February 12th, 1943. Maxis is met with a major setback. During one of the tests, 2-6 becomes enraged and disobeys his orders, attacking its handler. Maxis is forced to put down his best subject so far. May 18th, 1943. American spy Harvey Aether is assigned to work as a scientist for Group 935 to acquire intel on the freaky voodoo experiments that they be doing. Aether is mainly stationed at the Siberian facility, developing a 115 infused sniper rifle during his time there.
Peace.
June 15th, 1943. Captain Takio relays to the Emperor of his disgust with the experiments carried out at the Rising Sun facility. July 24th, 1943. Our boy Takio gets played. By orders of the Emperor, Takio is held prisoner by Group 935 and Division 9. The Emperor allows them to conduct experiments on Takio however they wish. July 14th, 1944. Maxis reports to Germany with successful progress on the zombie army, although he secretly believes the undead are near uncontrollable. September 2nd, 1944. Mexican spy Pablo Marinas is captured by Group 935 while infiltrating the Eagle's Nest facility. He is held prisoner within the castle's brig. May 9th, 1945. In captivity, Pablo has visions of a great war during the 13th century. He writes of these visions, seeing humanity battle against demonic entities who sought to devour the earth. In this battle, Pablo saw 4 staff-wielding knights who saved them from certain death. He recalls these knights to have a similar appearance to the statues within the castle. June 4th, 1945. An Allied plane malfunctions over a German airfield and crashes into a convoy transporting 115 supplies and undead specimens. This causes the whole vicinity to become contaminated and overrun with Yahtzee zombies. Four Marines who survived the crash are forced to hold out in a nearby bunker until support would arrive. But it never came, and the Marines eventually succumbed to the endless hordes. June 17th, 1945. OSS operative Peter McCain is ordered by his handler Cornelius Purnell to infiltrate the De Rees facility as a research assistant based out of Munich. June 29th, 1945. Dr. Groff and Schuster develop a 115 infused weapon that can be dual-wielded to shoot electricity or connected together to fire a focused wave of radiation that explodes its target from the inside out. July 15th, 1945. Richtofen, with Samantha still in his care mind you, arrive at the Siberian facility to conduct research on live experiments with Aether. Richtofen also brings with him the Vril device and the Vril vessel. July 18th, 1945. An American reporter is found trying to break into the Siberian facility and is brought in for questioning. Richtofen has him reveal that he works for a man named Mr. Rapp and is in search of the Vril vessel. Richtofen refuses his request and has him executed on the spot. July 29th, 1945. Richtofen and Aether develop another 115 infused elixir they would call Deadshot Daiquiri. August 1st, 1945. 3 new test subjects are delivered to the Siberian facility, these being Nikolai Belensky, Takio Masaki, and Pablo Marinas. August 28th, 1945. Richtofen documents his progress with the experimentation on the 3 subjects, planning to use their souls to forge an elemental shard for the Agarthan device. August 31st, 1945. Peter McCain is transferred from Doris to the asylum facility. His handler Purnell is concerned that Group 935 will eventually lose control over their experiments. He assembles a Marine recon team with some of his finest men, assigning Corporal Tank Dempsey to lead the extraction of Peter McCain. September 1st, 1945. Peter's cover is blown and is held captive within the asylum facility. September 2nd, 1945. World War II comes to an end, but Group 935 marches on with their experiments. At the Siberian facility, Richtofen and Yaina operate on test subject Pablo Marinus. Richtofen removes Pablo's spleen, believing it to be the barrier to unlocking the mind. He was wrong. Bro can figure out teleportation, but thinks a bean sitting in your belly is the third eye or something. Anyway, Richtofen believes he has killed Pablo after removing his spleen, and has him dumped into the Tunguska River like a real mobster. But Pablo is not actually dead, just spleenless. He finds himself in some kind of pocket dimension at the bottom of the river. Pablo manages to swim back to the facility after some time, and I don't know, I guess he just chills there for the next 20 years. But that's going to be important later in the timeline. So back to Richtofen and Yaina. Being the good guardian that Richtofen is, he begins conducting experiments on Samantha. God damn it, Max, this shit is tragic. Meanwhile, at the asylum facility, temporal rifts start to alter the minds of both the subjects and scientists, believing they could hear voices within the walls of the asylum.
Spit on it. Boom.
September 3rd, 1945. An undead outbreak occurs at the asylum facility. Big shocker, I know. Peter McCain takes the opportunity to escape, but is bit on the arm amidst the action. Peter's quick thinking saves his life, as he immediately amputates his arm before the infection truly set in. One arm and dangerous, Peter still escapes the asylum. September 6, 1945. The recon team arrive at the asylum facility to discover the carnage that had occurred over the past few days. As they make their way through the facility, they find no trace of Peter and believe he must have escaped. The team then becomes overwhelmed by endless hordes, and the defense slowly breaks. Smokey and Banana succumb to the undead, while Paxton manages to escape. Dempsey, the last man standing, fights for days, until he collapses from exhaustion. Just in time for Group 935 to arrive and contain the outbreak themselves. They take Dempsey in for experimentation. September 13th, 1945. Purnell attempts to contact Peter, leaving him a transmission to regroup at the Rising Sun facility. September 17th, 1945. Dempsey is transported to the Siberian facility to replace test subject Pablo Marinus. While conducting experiments on the 3 Ultimus subjects, Richtofen studies their personality traits. Dempsey has a weaker intellect but a strong will. Takio is deeply loyal to his country, muttering proverbs to himself while only staring at the ground. And Nikolai would be unresponsive in all categories, only until being injected with the serum created by Yaina that mostly consisted of vodka. Richtofen realizes they all had one thing in common: severe trauma. Their minds have been broken down so severely that they barely have any memory of their past lives. September 20th, 1945. Richtofen extracts a piece of each of the subject's souls with the Vril device and infuses them into a rock of 115. In need of one more soul to complete the process, Richtofen infuses a piece of his own soul into the rock. With the 4 souls infused, the rock transforms into an elemental shard. But by doing this, Richtofen unknowingly links his and the Ultimus crew's souls to the Aether across all dimensions, connecting all their alternate versions of themselves to the Aether through space and time. September 24th, 1945. Yaina informs Richtofen that Maxis has ordered him to return to Doris to discuss his loyalty to Group 935 and to finalize the matter transference device. Maxis also halts his progress of the Agarthan device, having Yaina deliver the elemental shard to the Rising Sun facility for further research. Bro didn't even say nothing about his daughter name, Father of the Year. And just to rub salt in the wound, Richtofen discovers that Maxis has halted production of the Wonder Waff and is considering scrapping the project entirely. God damn, bro. Forget Dutch. Maxis be looking like Micah right now. Richtofen becomes suspicious of Harvey Yaina's true identity after his time spent at the Siberian facility. September 27th, 1945. Richtofen returns to the Doris facility with the Ultimus subjects. October 1st, 1945. Maxis assesses the subjects himself, noting that all specific memories of their past lives have been lost, while their baseline psyche remains intact. So pretty much, they remember who they are, but really nothing else. After discovering that Maxis has removed Project Wonderwaff from Group 935 entirely, Richtofen begins his ploy to remove Project Maxis and his daughter from reality indefinitely. October 10th, 1945. Schuster confronts Richtofen on his recent contacts with the US and the Soviet Union. Richtofen tells Schuster to not be concerned, as through the US and the Soviets, Group 935's research can continue as part of Operation Stapler. Operation Stapler was planned to extract Group 935 scientists out of Germany and employ them within the US and Soviet military, respectively. October 12th, 1945. Dr. Groff informs Richtofen of the MPD's completion and is awaiting the conduit. Richtofen confirms that he will proceed with Operation Shield and kill Maxis and Samantha. October 13th, 1945. Maxis and Richtofen begin teleportation test trials on 3 unnamed subjects. They all fail. For the 4th subject, Maxis uses Samantha's dog Fluffy, which also fails. During the failure of the 5th test subject, Fluffy is returned to the teleporter chamber. She is greatly disfigured and covered in immense flames, yet still alive with an aggressive nature. Samantha sees what Maxis has done to her and rushes into the teleporter to comfort Fluffy.
Oh, shit.
Maxis realizes the danger his daughter is in and rushes after her. Richtofen sees the opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. He locks them both in the teleporter chamber and flicks the switch. Samantha is teleported to Griffin Station, while Maxis is teleported to a realm called the Crazy Place. Not sure what happened to Fluffy though, but she'll be back. Samantha wanders through Griffin Station and eventually finds and enters the MPD. Schuster and Groff become aware of this and try to pull her out, but it's too late. She becomes corrupted by the dark ether and resides within the MPD. In the Crazy Place, Maxis gains the ability to fuse himself into electricity. Richtofen arrives at Griffin Station after being notified of Samantha's whereabouts. He orders Dr. Groff to teleport Maxis back to convince Samantha to exit the MPD. Maxis persuades her out of the MPD, but gives her only one instruction: to kill them all. Maxis then unalives himself and infuses his soul into the entirety of Griffin Station. Samantha proceeds to rip and tear until it is done, unleashing hordes of the undead among the Griffin Station. Richtofen and Schuster manage to escape and teleport back to Earth. But the survival for the rest of the station is unknown.
Yeah, apparently.
You need to hang up that computer call. Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm feeling romantical.
October 14th, 1945. With Samantha in control of the MPD, she causes outbreaks to occur at Doris. H. Porter activates the alarms before swallowing a cyanide pill to avoid death by zombies. Richtofen returns to Doris to awaken the Ultimus subjects for the extra manpower. The 3 subjects have no recollection of their past or of Richtofen, and reluctantly agree to help. Thus begins the journey of the Ultimus crew. Yay. October 18th, 1945. Peter McCain parachutes over the Rising Sun facility. Due to an error while trying to land, Peter dies hanging from his parachute within one of the buildings of the facility. October 21st, 1945. The Ultimus crew arrive at the Rising Sun facility to secure Richthofen's journal, necessary for taking down Samantha and Maxis. October 28th, 1945. The Ultimus crew return to Doris, planning to take the teleporter to Griffin Station and confront Samantha. Mistakenly, the Wonderwolf Richthofen carried overloads the teleporter, sending them through time to the Kino facility in the year 1963. Richthofen loses his journal in the process and is left behind at Doris. And I'm probably going to wrap it up there for part 1. That's pretty much the story up to the end of World at War. I'm going to try and fit Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 into part 2, and then maybe have BO3 and BO4 in part 3 for a sexy little trilogy. But if they're any longer than this video, then I don't know. Might have to make them a little shorter to get them out on a tighter schedule. I'm only explaining the zombie storyline in a timeline fashion because of how confusing everything can get with time travel. Other videos I make in the future will have more of a straightforward story-like explanation. Not sure how I will do part 2 since the Black Ops 1 maps tend to jump back and forth across the timeline. I feel like it would be a bit jarring explaining Shangri-La before Ascension and Shangri-La before Call of the Dead. Maybe I'll just save those events for later to make the video a bit more coherent, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Besides that, thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, share it with your uncle.